beer pong. We opened beach number one up for Boaters Beach. We had throughout the day 10 to 15 boats at all times parked there. So people came from land and they could also come from sea, so which was good. Apparently, it was a really hot day that day, and Mueller Brewery, which we had different from last year, we went through 13 kegs of beer. We actually ran out. They had to come and give us more. So that was a very popular item. I wonder why. I don't know why. But we went through roughly 200 cases of Budweiser and Budweiser products. Man, you guys were thirsty. Son of a gun. Our beer sales is over $9,600. So, yeah, it kind of helped pay for the band and all that kind of stuff. So, the band was good. All three bands were super. What was interesting is that the bands were so interesting that the people stayed to listen to the music. Then they got thirsty and then they ate. Our food vendors ran out of food. So, all in all, it was just, right day, right time, good people. It was very well supported, and we want to thank you for all the people who came and did that. Also, I really want to come out a special thanks to all the executive board. We did that's almost a weekend project, 12, 14, 15 hours a day to get that set up, to run it, and also to tear it down. And also, again, all the people who came, we certainly appreciate that. And most importantly is Liz Ann Morris, as Brian Morris's wife. She did exceptional. She went out and got sponsors for the T-shirts. She ran the run, and also Eric Morris, which ran the bands and the backside of it. Without those guys, that event would not have come off that well. So I want to say thank you and a special thanks for those two people. There you go. One of our goals.
We should add,
Oh.
or I would just like to make a comment as part of the executive board. We put the Summer Fest on, not so much to make the money. Now, the money is the good things, and that goes into improving the lake. But we put that on to try to get people to come back to the lake, to enjoy the lake. I think that's a critical thing to keep in mind. It's good we make money, but the main thing we want to do is get people to come back and see this lake and see the state park, see what we
You
have
flipping
to
through
offer.
there?
That's my comment.
All right. Thank you, Tom, because that was my next comment, but you did well. I appreciate it. We don't have to do that again then. Thank you very much. Uh, Along with that, this event isn't about making money. It's about showing the lake off. And I think we did that very, very well, and it was very, very supported. And our goal was to break even and maybe make a little money. If we lost a little, it was okay. We still made about $2,200 on it. So all in all, a good event. And again, thanks for everybody to do what we're doing. So we're back to back again. Bar's still open. I don't know. Is this? Do you know, Tom? Is this our 16th year?
I think so.
I think this is our 16th year. All the advertisements will be out. Salina Moose, Boardwalk, Shingle Shack, It's It, Shockers, Beach Point, Bims, Bayview, Southmore Sportsman's Club, Salina Eagles, Rustic, Sunnyside, and Ducksfoots will all be participating again this year for it. The four-person mini golf teams, $100 if you buy before August the 1st, I believe, and anything after August the 1st is $120. So we're trying to get everybody committed up front. Looks like we have a lot of activity on our webpage is right now for that, and we have the big signs as you see right here. You'll see them in the bars. We got the little signs as you see. They'll be in the bars as well. You'll be seeing it in Paint the Town. We might even do some WLIO commercials later on, depending upon the activity and the signups. So hopefully this weekend we'll be getting all those posters out and the binders to the bars. And from there, we are off and running. So the other thing is, and I'm going to get you before you, okay. Tom, again, has agreed to get judges. And it takes almost 75 people to run an event like this, an all-day event. And if anybody is looking to do a morning or evening judging, and it's fun, it's more interesting in the afternoon, though, as you may well know. Uh, the only thing, so you need to get a hold of Tom Ramp over here. He has a schedule in the back, so please see Tom Ramp before. We're going to funnel everything through Tom, so he'll personally ask you to help support us in that endeavor. No, he wouldn't do that too much. I would, but he wouldn't. But anyways, the only thing that we're really changing on the Barstow, we had at 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And that kind of pushed us a little bit for the bars. The bars kind of got into their evening a little bit in regards to their bands and that type of thing. So we, instead of closing at 7 o'clock, we're closing at 6 o'clock. So that gives everybody a little bit more time to go out and get dinner, get a shower, and then do what they want to do in the evening. So that's the only changes. So all this information is on our website, and please help us judging or participating. Now, any questions on any of those two things? All right. Now I'd like to ask Stan. Would you come up, Stan? He's going to talk about the kids' fishing derby.
This is one project we're not going to make any money on, but we make a lot of kids smile. If any of you have ever worked there, we do it for the special needs children in Mercer and Auglaize County. Typically, we get about 120 to 140 children out there. And we, to monitor that, we need a lot of help. So anybody can volunteer. Most of you in here have done something in the past. Those kids scarfed on a lot of cookies. So if you want to either buy some cookies and drop them off or bake some cookies, the kids really like it. We've been funded once again through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. We've received the grant information. So it will be on Wednesday, September 7th. Or is it the 6th? I'm sorry, whatever that first Wednesday in September is. I think it's the 6th. So it'll be out the first, Dave, I think that's Shelter House 1, isn't it? At the on the east side at Villanova. And typically the children arrive between 10 and 10:30, and we get a few people out there early to help set up and things like that around 8 o'clock, 8:30. Is there any questions regarding that? Again, if you can give, yes. Yeah, no peanuts in the cookies, please. If you do, put them to the side. Some of us people who aren't allergic can eat them, but yeah, please, no peanuts in the cookie because a number of those children are allergic. Thanks a lot. Okay, thank you.
And that is the board report, and back to Tim.
All right, a couple things. The summer kickoff, as Mark explained, that went well. I also would like to thank the board members, Lizanne Morris, and all of those that helped. We start planning that typically in October, November, so there's a lot of work that goes into that. Eric Morris has been our committee chairman for the past several years since we started this. And again, another good job by Eric, a very detailed guy, and God love him, he knows how to do that kind of stuff. He did a heck of a job. And back to Liz Ann, Brian's wife, what a super lady. Works herself hard to do that. And we really do appreciate their efforts in that. And all the guys on the board and all of you that helped us with that, we do appreciate that. And we also thank you for coming out and supporting that event. And yeah, all of the board members' wives, and that's always good to have that support too. Okay, Tom Kanapke is not here today. He's over in on the Rhine in Germany, so we will not have an LRC report. What I will tell you is that they continue to work on their plan. They also continue to work on, they've developed some committees around those plans to make that move forward. And I'm not going to try to steal Tom's thunder because I'm not really up to speed that much on it. So He'll be here in August, and he can walk you through where they're at in terms of their completeness of the plant. What I'd like to do next is, Teresa, you want to come up and go through some of the things that are going on with Ag Solutions, please?
Thank you. Good morning. So I've been through a lot of this stuff a number of times, so I'm just going to give you a brief update. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on some of the stuff, technology-wise, because that can take some time. But first off, I want to announce that we are having a farm tour at the end of July. It'll be on Saturday, July 29th. At the David and Gina Smitmeyer Dairy Farm, which happens to be in the Grand Lake watershed. We started this last year, a series of tours called Our Land, Our Water. Last year, we did everything based around the lake, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get out on the lake that day because of storms, but we were able to have a good crowd and discuss dredging and treatment trains and other things that have been going on around the lake. So this year we're focusing on the farm. So at the farm, you'll be able to see robotic milking, robotic feed pushing, and we'll talk about rations, what cows eat, and the changes that have been made on the farm over the last 5 years. So that'll be exciting. We'll also have some other demonstrations on a rainfall simulator to look at differences in percolation in no-till fields, conventional fields, grass areas, pasture fields. So that'll be interesting. We'll also be looking at a spray, chemical sprayer. So your pesticides, your herbicides, insecticides that get applied. We have a demonstration table that really shows, how much that can drift. That'll be interesting as well. And then our highlighted speaker will be Dr. Stephen Jackman. Him and myself and a few others have been working on analyzing the data that's coming out of Chickasaw Creek for the last several months. So we have about 8 to 9 years of data now, and we're analyzing that data and looking at the trends and all the nutrients that are coming through Chickasaw Creek. So he'll be giving his presentation on that, so that'll be exciting, along with some other ag practices that we were working on research. So I have some flyers back there if you're interested in that tour. Space is limited, so it's first come, first serve. Contact me to RSVP. I do want to briefly thank Mark and Tim and Ted for hosting a group of farmers last week. We did a boat tour of Grand Lake. Because of last year's event, Our Land, Our Water, we weren't able to get out on the water. A lot of those farmers were interested in getting out on Grand Lake because they just don't have boats. They don't have access to boats. It was great, and they were all very appreciative of what they were able to see during that tour. So again, thanks to these guys for hosting that. That was great. And I know I have people interested again. So whether we try later this year or maybe we try to do it in the spring of every year, we'll see.
They bring beer though, right?
Oh, beer this time? I just had water. I can't do that when I'm on the clock. So I also, in the last 2 weeks, I've been looking at a lot of different operations with side dressing corn with manure. Glenn Arnold with Ohio State Extension has done 5 to 6 plus years of research on this. So instead of using your traditional commercial 28% nitrogen on your corn, because corn has to have nitrogen to grow, they're using hog manure, some dairy manure, even liquid beef manure, which is fairly new, to side dress that corn. So it gives another application window for manure, and you're putting it right out there on a growing crop, which is great. Those nutrients can be utilized immediately by the crop. So there was 2 different field days or events I attended. The top there is a picture of Glenn Arnold's toolbar. He was able to get some grant funding to build 2 of these, and he's hoping to get a third that can be shared within the area, so the guys don't have to own the equipment. they can just coordinate with Glenn, and it takes a day or two, depending on how many acres they want to cover. And then Cadman Power Company has a huge piece of equipment, which is that bottom picture, which is really unique because you can go into corn that's tasseled with manure. So the disadvantage is it is very expensive, but I think over time it may come along. But it pulls a hose through the corn row, so it doesn't smash any corn, which is great. And then you can turn around and it'll stay, that toolbar moves, shifts on the tractor, so that hose pulls back onto that reel and keeps that hose in the same row, which is pretty cool. So it's just another opportunity for farmers. I've mentioned this quick wash nutrient removal technology. Again, I'm not going to go into detail, but we're going to do a pilot project. It's a way to get phosphorus out of manure. So we do have funding, and I want to thank the LIA for funding a portion of that, along with Cooper Farms and then the Mercer County Commissioner's Community Development Office as well. We'll be funding that pilot. We have a host farm designated, and we're starting some ammonia reduction trials here next week, late next week. And then the full-scale pilot we're looking at early August, maybe late July. They haven't given me a date yet. So I will set up a time where the public can come view that technology in action. So I'll send out a flyer once we get that scheduled. Along the lines of technology, livestock water recycling, I was fortunate enough to get a tour of a facility, a farm that has the technology installed. And that's the photo here. That's the system, the solid separation system on that farm. And I'm going to be doing a tour, not this coming week, but the following week at another site where they have a similar system installed. And I've been in discussions with them, and he's got ideas, and he's working on them. So it's a positive. We're moving that in a positive direction. On another note, I was fortunate enough to get a Ohio Farm Bureau grant, along with these partners listed here, to do soil health research. So we're looking at the differences in soil health in a long-term no-till system versus a minimum tillage system. So we're going to be collecting data over this growing season and the next growing season and wrapping that project up with a field day. But how we're doing that is through soil testing and then through aerial imagery. And this image is from one of our fields, and it shows crop stress. So we can identify where some of those problems are in the soil through those images. So the red means the crop is stressed, and the darker the green, the better the crop is. It'll be interesting. I don't know a lot about it, but we'll learn. I was also notified that we have been tentatively selected for a Great Lakes sediment and nutrient reduction grant. We'll be doing this up in the Lake Erie watershed, but we're doing basically an inline series of conservation practices instead of a traditional grass waterway. So we'll be doing wetlands, the portions of grass waterway. We'll be doing some different types of plants. It'll be very interesting and hopefully successful. And then in theory, we can replicate that elsewhere. I've mentioned the saturated buffer, which is a new practice where we're directing a portion of the tile water into the buffer along the creek to allow more uptake of nutrients. Wright State's working on this project with myself, and we're going to be doing research this growing season, next growing season, to see how successful it is in Ohio soils. Also, again, working with Wright State on some habitat monitoring in the feeder creeks to Grand Lake. We've got 6 different sites identified and confirmed landowner access, and we're going to be starting on that very soon. We're just going to be looking at the health of the macroinvertebrates to start with, and fish, and over time, hopefully we'll do this a couple of times over the next few years to really get an assessment of what the habitat is in these creeks. The 9-element watershed plans, I've mentioned those several times as well. These are documents that EPA basically told us we had to have if we ever want to apply for grant funding through the 319 program. So we targeted Beaver Creek and Chickasaw Creek to start with, and we have those plans finished, and just this week we learned that Chickasaw Creek was approved by the US EPA. So both of those plans are approved and good to go. Assuming 319 comes out this fall, depending on the federal budget, we should be able to apply for a project. So that's exciting. Also wanted to mention the next Ag Solutions meeting is July 10th, so a week from Monday. Again, Dr. Stephen Jackman, he's going to be presenting this information on Chickasaw Creek, the data coming out of that for the first time to the public. So feel free to come on out to that. And we'll also have an update from Manure Management Technology. And then I'll give some other brief updates at the meeting. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, here's my contact information. Feel free to contact me anytime. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks for the update, Teresa, and thank you for the work you're doing out in the watershed, too. We do appreciate that. A couple things I want to comment on. First of all, the boat tour. We had tried to do that several times, weather-related issues that kept us from doing it. But I think the value in that is exchange of information. A lot of people don't know what we're doing on this side of the lake, especially in the lake. So it was worthwhile to take those men and ladies out there and show them exactly what we're trying to get accomplished here. The other part is I'm going to try to get Dr. Jackman here in August so he also can give you a report on the analysis of the Chickasaw flows, and that has been done by the Heidelberg College. Has been doing that for the last, I think it's 9 years, I believe, somewhere in that area. So we finally got a pretty good data set that should show us, hopefully, that we're trending in the right direction. But again, we'll make sure we get Dr. Jackman here, or at least try to get him here so he can actually go through that and you can understand that. I want to talk a little bit about this water wash system that Teresa mentioned that we're supporting. My microphone evidently doesn't want to work here. We donated $2,600 for that project, the trial project. The reason we did is this technology appears to have some of the things that we think will work in this watershed. One is obviously the removal. It's not 100%, but it does remove phosphorus. A lot of these other technologies put it in different areas. Phosphorus just doesn't go away unless you have a process to do that. This process will change that. Not only change it, it makes it a sellable product when you're done, calcium phosphate. So if you can change it and then get some money for it, obviously that's a good thing. The other thing is it's scalable. And it doesn't do us any good if we can only use half of it on a farm. So it's scalable. And as Mr. Rentz reminded me last night, it's mobile. So when you look at the cost structure and how this system works, it makes sense that this has a lot of potential. So that's why we stepped up and said, you know, we want to help you here to make sure that we can get this test done. So that's what we did. I think I mentioned $2,600 is what we donated to them to help get that trial done. We believe in what she's doing out there, and we want to support what they're doing. The other thing that I just totally lost and forgot, I'll talk to you later about. Until then, oh, it's heck getting old. Anyways, next up, Dave, you want to come up and talk about the lake update? Wow.
Good morning. First thing, lake level this morning is 12.24 inches above the notch. Just visitation continues to increase for 2017. Camp revenue is up about 34%. Camp reservations are also up in the 30 percentile area. This weekend marks the 4th weekend of 90% or greater occupancy in the camp. That's twice as high as it was last year. I think a lot of it in part is due to the splash pad and the new full service hookups. So that capital money that was spent was a great asset to the campgrounds. We're continuing to work with ODOT for the dam clearing there at West Bank, and once we finish at West Bank, we're going to move to East Bank. Starting next week, we'll be moving some of the larger logs just north of the dog park, and then that will be a firewood collection point. So if you know anybody that's looking for some firewood, they can come out there and cut that wood up and take it home with them. To date, we've got 30.19 inches of rain, which is 2.21 inches more than the entire year in 2016. Next, I'm going to do the dredge update for Tom Graybo. Projects so far, the Hodag has finished the Prairie Creek mouth, fusing additional 3,000 feet to the pipe, and will move into the channel mouth at Its. Brutus is at Coldwater Creek digging silt trap 18 to 22 feet deep. The Pump a Little is at Doss Landing, then is going to be going to Lee's. Projects completed so far this year is a sailboat club, Fry's Channel, and Bayview. Now here's a really cool one. Monthly total for cubic yards removed for June is 94,426 cubic yards. That's roughly 25% of what the entire year last year was. So they're kicking butt this past month. And it's the single most productive month that they've had so far. Yearly total is 154,887 cubic yards, and it's putting us significantly ahead for the course of 2016's records, which was 405,523 cubic yards. DMRAs are still waiting on Wright State to sign the property lease, and once signed, it will construct 2 additional 6-acre sites. Does anybody have any questions?
How much washed in?
How much washed in? What do you mean?
Well, that's great, you pumped all that yardage, and I hope you pumped, and that's wonderful. But how much has come in from these rains? How much sediment's come back into the lake while you guys are trying to keep up with what's coming in?
I have no idea.
That's what I thought.
I do, Buzz. It's less. 2008, a study said about 150,000 cubic feet. Yards. Excuse me.
So we're even for the year then.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, there's this in here, okay? Now, if you talk to the recent studies are showing, they think it's significantly less than that. Now, they don't have a number to it yet, but they think it's less than 150,000 for the year. So at the end of the day, we are actually going beyond that. 10 years ago, you were doing 80 to 100,000 cubic yards. You weren't making any headway, okay? Now, at least we're getting ahead of it somewhat. Now, is it perfect? Yeah, I know it's not perfect, but at least we've turned that corner, okay? So you're looking at it, and I'm hoping when we get that information, it's in the 80 to 100,000. Ideally, we'd like to have none. We know that's not going to happen, but that's where it's at now. So hopefully that answers your question.
You mentioned the West Bank project, clearing that. What is the goal on that? I didn't understand. I saw there were a lot of trees cut down. Is there some more development going to happen in that area once it's cleared?
No, there will be no development. It's just clearing the dam off per Army Corps engineer standards. There's not supposed to be any woody vegetation growing on a dam. Okay?
So that'll be
Yes,
Plant grass in there, is that the idea?
yes, eventually. There will be grass on it. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, in terms of our reports for the day, I think we're finished, or we are finished, excuse me. So it's time to open the floor for questions and answers. So who has a question? Yes, sir.
I've built houses, I've been building houses for 40 years.
Okay.
I've developed 6 subdivisions, we did the retention.
Okay.
When we did those, we did silt fence around every lot because it was very rare. Is that anything that would work on these fields along the creek where it's coming in? Then we also did a French drain in the center of these because there was no grass on them yet.
Right.
And we brought the tile up like this and built it up so it almost looked like a fountain.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to work pretty well. I didn't know if it'd be something that would be open.
So you're suggesting maybe lining the creek bank?
Ditches with silt fence. We have to right now, every subdivision I'm building.
Yeah, I know it's a requirement, right, with the retention ponds, all the stuff that you have. I understand that. I don't know the answer to that, Teresa. I mean, is that what he's asking is he builds homes, construction, and when they do lots, they're required to silt fence the lot. His question is, can you do something like that along the streams along the fields to keep that from coming in? I don't know the answer to that. And he also mentioned that they do some French drain type stuff where they raise the drain up to keep the water from.
Well, the inlets would come into the creek where we put the French drain. We put the French drain in front of the drain that would come out of the overflow retention.
There's practices out there that we've encouraged, the same thing, a blind inlet for water quality, and controlled drainage and the saturated buffers. A lot of those projects are aimed at those same goals. I can tell you right now, silt fence would do no good because it would not be maintained properly. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into silt fence, and for a farmer to maintain that along a creek, it just wouldn't happen.
What we did was, and I need to clarify, once we got the grass in there, the silt fences went away.
Yes. Right. I tell you what we will do
I
is.
just make a comment on that. There is practices, okay, there are practices that the farmers can do, like to put in filter strips along the edge of the creek. Which in essence, the grass would help filter.
The grass would help filter and hold the silt in. That's practices that can be done, and there are producers that do that, right, Teresa?
Just a thought.
I tell you what we will do though. We'll take that to the LRC meeting. I mean, there's engineers and people there that maybe can answer that question. I don't have an answer for you. It's that simple.
So when we go into subdivisions, they put on all these new sewer
Yeah,
systems
I
and
know.
stuff,
I understand.
and all of a sudden they're full of silt, and they bring the big pump out to try and suck it out. And once you watch that, and you're involved in this, and it's costing your company a fortune,
Right.
all of a sudden you become real used to putting silt fence up and trying to save that money, because that's not cheap to suck that stuff out.
I absolutely understand what you're saying. We'll get that to the LRC with those people and see if they can come up with an answer. I haven't heard that suggestion, so. Any other questions, comments? You can't. You're not allowed to.
The LIA, one of our projects is encouraging people to put aeration in their channels. And that has been shown to improve the water quality, right, Jeff, significantly in your channels. So again, we have a program. If you're at all interested, you can go to our website or contact one of us trustees, and we can tell you how the LIA will help pay for you to put aeration in your channel.
Yeah, we have a cost share process, so we'd certainly be willing to listen. Did you have a question, sir?
Question, comment, I guess. Is there more permanent? That all runs off of electric, correct? When you're putting this aeration in the end of the channels.
Yes, sir.
Has anyone ever thought of, well, here I go. Anyone ever thought of a more permanent solution like a air or a wind-driven, what do I want to say? Yes, correct. A windmill solution for that actually pumps air into the channel on a constant basis. I'm going to guess that's going to be probably a little more of a expense to do that and a more permanent.
It could be, and there is options out there. I know the company that does a lot of work around the lake. I know they do have options, for that. And yeah, the electric bill for a 100-foot strip costs you about $28 to $30 a month, to run.
It costs you probably about $3,000 at least to put up a windmill.
Correct. Correct. So, I mean, you can do the math. You can do the math of it. The nice thing about the electric piece is it's portable. And-
Joe, you have any comments on that?
Your neighbors can move it around. You can do a lot of different things with it. So that's the ease of it with that, and it's pretty maintenance free.
Hey, Joe's sitting right over here, so I don't know if you got any comments on that, Joe. You liked? We can get him the mic there, if you would, please, Jeff.
Typically, the windmills are more expensive initially, but the advantage to that is that, obviously you don't have the ongoing electrical expense month after month. But one of the disadvantages are we don't really get them high enough up to where you're really getting appreciable wind. So here we are in a low area, and we all like the trees around us, so we got all the pine bluffs and everything else. So they're not very productive. So that's one of the biggest problems that they've got. And really when you need it the most is when it's the hottest, and those are the dog days of summer when you got that hot temperature and no wind. And that's when you really need it, and that's when you have most of the fish kills, because the hotter the water is, the less oxygen it can hold. So when you need it the most, the windmills are the least ineffective. It's a solution when you don't have electric, but if you have electric available and you choose to do windmills, I think there's a better solution, actually.
The other piece of that is your DO levels drop significantly at nighttime. So even nighttime running your units, 24 hours through that time period when your DO drops significantly in the water is a plus.
Anybody else?
The speaker that spoke about the residential units along the west bank there in the
Yes.
development,
Yes.
has there been any movement on that?
And I don't know, this young lady asked me earlier today. I think probably we need to get Bill Edmonds, the guy that's doing it. Maybe we can get him back in here. I know he was proceeding the last time I talked to him several months ago. Now, where he's at in that, I can't answer that. But we'll see if we can get Bill back in here. Maybe he can explain where he's at in this process. I mean, at the end of the day, he wanted to have the condominiums, for lack of a better term, but basically they were vacation homes to go to. Little smaller, little cheaper type concept, and then develop around the restaurant stuff. That was the plan. I don't think that plan's changed, but in terms of where he's at, I can't answer that. But I will get that information. We'll get him back and he can tell us. Okay? The development over on the west bank that we had Bill in here, Bill Edmonds, the guy's name, and him and his son are working on it. That's what it was in. Buzz, you got a question?
Actually, I have a lot of questions, but I'm not going to drag on. I think my first question is there an actual protocol of who makes the decisions on the types of things that we do on this lake? Is there an actual protocol? Is it just, I know the LIA is a great place for a sounding board to bring the ideas and follow up through them. And I think the things that the volunteers and the people in LIA are doing are great. But if the community may not agree with some of the things going on, how are those decisions made to build a, we'll say 1 mile, 3/4 stone wall across the whole side of the southwest corner of the lake? How's that decision made? Is it the Corps of Engineers that approved that wall? Who decided that 10-inch pipe is going to be enough to clean the water in the treatment trains, that we're pinning the hopes and the futures of our families and our properties on 10-inch pipes in 50-foot wide creeks, when the Tetra Tech plan says clean up 75% of the creek, not 10 inches of water in the creek. I'm just wondering how those kind of decisions are made, and if there's a protocol, if it's done in Columbus, if it's done at the local RNC. Is any of this brought back to Mr. Casey, who we all assume is in charge of those different departments? And one more, and then I'll leave it alone. I'm very confused as to why we have red posted signs, and yet we tell everybody to come to the lake. Believe me, I represent 900 families that rent property from my family. I represent 500 boaters. I pay almost $20,000 in dock fees a year for our companies. And I'm a little bit confused when they come in and they ask me, are we supposed to get in the water? Are we not supposed to get in the water? I'm a little bit confused when we're asked, is it safe or is it not safe? You see, being in the water business, and when all you do is this lake with 25 employees and a couple thousand people, customers, when this lake is your livelihood and those people talk to you every day, there are emotions involved. We get to count the cash drawer at the end of the day. And when the lady at Zuma-Through tells me I got to go to Sam's Club to get my supplies because I don't know what weekends is going to be good and what weekends are going to be bad, and when the signs are around, people just don't tend to come. Grandma wants the kids to come up, but mom says, no, we're not coming. These are the things I hear in my marina every day. You know what? This happened in 2010, 7 years, and you guys tell us it's going to take more time, more time. We're almost used a decade, and it ain't a whole lot better. Just last month, it was 193 parts per billion, and yet, per million. And I'm a little bit confused when we tell everybody it's safe, but then we record the highest reading we've ever recorded. And these are EPA readings. These aren't numbers I'm making up. You can find this stuff on the website. So this isn't directed at anybody personally, but who's in charge? That's what the community and the people that I work with and my customers want to know.
So you want me to answer that question first? Who's in charge?
Who's in charge?
State owns the lake. It's a state lake. It's their baby. Now, are people helping them? Sure, there are people helping. Ultimately, it's a state lake. They own the lake. We don't. Are we trying to help them? Absolutely. Anywhere we can to get past what you just described. Now, we've had science people, we've had engineers, we've had all kinds of people take a look at this. We're looking at what other places are doing. There's not somebody sitting in a magical room just making this stuff up. You talked about a 10-inch pipe, okay? That 10-inch pipe is designed to do a little process through a treatment train. That was never the answer to those creeks. Those creeks are designed to go through these littorals when we get them populated. They're not populated with plants yet, Buzz. So nobody suggested that a 10-inch pipe was going to fix this lake. That was never part of the discussion. It's the process that starts it, but ultimately it's not going to fix it. We know that. Hell, you know that. I mean, it's not no big secret. All of these are going to be run through littorals. That's why you got those in the lake. Get some plants in them, get them growing. Got to fill them first. Then we'll run the streams through those littorals. Mother Nature's going to fix this. At the end of the day, mechanically, we got no chance. That's my opinion. The other thing is, we got science involved here. Well, you was asking a question, so I'm answering your question, okay? You asked me a question, I'm trying to answer it. We have science involved here. That science says that we don't know exactly, totally what's going on. Phosphorus, yeah, we all understand phosphorus. Why is it converting into dissolved reactive? Why is that number keep increasing? Why has microcystin become the dominant out here? Why? Those questions haven't been answered. So there is no quick fix to just going out and dredging this and being done, or whatever things we may. Well, now you have a, what does it say?
It says reduce all the nutrients by
Okay. And that's not what we're trying to do with the treatment trains? Well, let me ask you this. I'll come back and let's get right to the point. What's your plan to get this fixed? What's your plan to get this fixed? If you don't like what we're doing, you're not happy with the way this is going, what's your plan?
Well, I think we ought to follow up and pay $2 million.
And that tells you how to fix it?
It pretty much discusses the
Oh, I totally disagree with that. That was a 2009. Okay. Well, I'm asking what's your plan? Yeah, and we ended up doing what they said. And we ended up doing what they said when we put alum in here, Buzz. That's what it all got down to. And if we hadn't have done that, you talk about losing money, you'd have no business. You'd have none. This place had been shot. Oh, you telling me a guy making money off a state lake, you're going broke?
You know what? I haven't had the fortune to work for a place where they just write me a paycheck. I got to count my cash drawer every day and hope there's enough.
That's not what I'm asking you, Buzz. Well, you've personally attacked me when you said emotion. That's where you come from with that. If you want to, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm going to be out of here. You can get somebody in here that's going to get you what you want. I've been front line from the get-go. You know how to look me up. You know where I'm at. I've never hid from anything. Apologize, folks, but apparently we have some disagreements. And we'll continue to disagree, and until I get somebody that can tell me how to fix it, or not just me, our group, how to fix it. Ma'am? Okay.
You don't have to get in the water to enjoy this lake. You go boating, there's all kinds of sights, different things that you can see.
Yes.
You don't have to get in the water. I still enjoy it. I love it up here.
And that's why we give money to things like playgrounds and those types of things. That's why we do this. We know this lake is far from where it needs to be. There's none of us that would disagree with that. He and I would not disagree with that. I think where the disagreement comes is on the approach. We have to have a plan. We have to have a way to attack this. We're following what science tells us to do. Now, if they're wrong, then they're wrong in a lot of places. Look up Chesapeake Bay, see what a lot of stuff they're doing. Lake Erie down, what are they talking about? Wetlands, all those kinds of things. It's got to get to Mother Nature because we cannot fix this. We don't have enough money to fix this thing or time. Mickey? Well, you'd have to ask him. I got an opinion. I won't share that with you.
Yeah, I'd like to wind this up on a positive note. Is Scott Booker, his wife here, I can't see him. 2 weeks ago, they sponsored a catfish tournament. Went out of the Eagles here.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on Facebook and had over 300 entries. They started in at little kids a little bigger, and then the adults.
Mm-hmm.
They paid 30 places to the adults on the payoff. It's just strictly on the size of the fish. Those.
And they did that on their own.
Thursday at noon till Sunday at noon. Spent the whole time there. They had people bringing fish in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I think we need more positive things like that to promote the lake. And they didn't make a dime on it. They just did it for the service of the people.
Understand. Thank you. I think we had another question over here, Jeff.
I know we're great things doing about what's coming into the lake. It just seems like when you go out to the water, and this is a question, maybe Teresa can answer this as far as with the science.
Sure.
You see a separation, like we getting all the rain and the fresh water coming in, and you see that at the top layer, and you see the green below it, the first several inches. Is there some way to remove a lot of that lower part, like right now we're running at the dam, all the fresh water is running over top. So your phosphorus and all your bad stuff, algae, is staying down lower. Has that ever been addressed or looked at as far as trying to resolve something like that as far as how the lake is now? It's question, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you this. Originally, several years ago, we had a group in here that was looking at the ability to take the green, the chlorophyll algae out of here and actually turn it into products. One of them was diesel fuel. They looked at even a cosmetic. Apparently, this has got oils in it that works well with cosmetics. It didn't work out. Okay, so and the reason it's an economic decision, nothing else but an economic decision for them. They couldn't make money doing it. Now, as far as the good oil, or excuse me, I work for an oil company. Good oil, good water, bad water. Understand that this lake, not now obviously, but in terms of a yearly turnaround. So if I dropped a bucket of water and it went through this whole lake, it takes between 1.4 and 1.7 years. That's for this whole thing to turn one turn. Okay. So is good water bad water? It's water in general. We tried to have some influence with the gates down there. We did that a year or two ago and opened them up just to see, because everybody says, well, just open them up and drain it out. Well, we drained the lake an inch in 3 days or 5 days or whatever it was with those gates open. And the area of influence was essentially about 50 feet. You know, you'd think that it doesn't do that. So having said all that, is there a way to separate that out? I'm not aware of anything other than, like I said, we try to do it from a commercial standpoint. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's the whole process of Mother Nature, what's taking place here. You got a eutrophic lake. We got to get that turned back around. And that's what all of this is about, is trying to turn that around. If we had $100 million to spend, I don't think we're still going to get it right away. It ain't going to happen. My opinion. People can disagree, but that's my opinion. Does that answer your question? Probably not. I mean, it's...
Not really, 'cause there's still a separation between there. It's like a swimming pool, basically. If you're filtration out of a swimming pool, you run it through a filtration system and you just kind of clean the lower part of the water. You've got your return coming through. Anything that's bad sucks through the bottom and then comes back off the top. Well, with our dam, being everything's going over the top, so you get the fresh water in, it just keeps running over the top, and it's not mixing enough with the chemicals or the algae that's in the bottom. And I didn't know if there's some kind of a filtration system or something like that that they could link it.
We'll do it.
The aeration will take the bottom water to the surface and actually circulate.
But I agree with what you're saying, but he made the point that it takes, 1.4 years?
Don't hold me.
By the time it gets over, it's already separated and dropped back down. Right.
Not in the center of the lake, but the technical force that he's talking about there says you don't need aeration in the middle of the lake, you only need it out in the channel. Because the aeration or the wave action you're not out here.
Creates oxygen.
Strength is enough to
turn the water over.
Yeah.
I don't think they can hear you in the back very well.
No. Sorry.
Who's got the mic?
Maybe he needs that. I guess that was my question.
Any other questions?
Change the subject a little bit. I'm really happy the campgrounds are really full. It's really neat. I live over by Windy Point. We drove down there the other day. We saw 12 dead carp on the beach. I saw the stones going out and coming around. I know that's a break wall. But a thought occurred to me. Why don't we take that stone wall and go this way and loop it clear into the shore, put aeration in there so they can use the beach. Same thing down at the other end. I mean, then you got people coming here, and that's the thing, right? So.
Glad you went there.
I'm glad you did. We're looking at Second Beach right now. Okay.
That is a project we're looking at.
We're looking
Yeah.
at doing. We're right now with where we're at in the process is we have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers to do. I understand. So we're working. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not used to speaking. Anyways, the question was, why wouldn't we look at kind of closing in the Windy Point Beach and putting aeration in? Well, we've had a couple meetings. I know Dave Farler, Brian Miller, and a few others have been involved in looking at what we could do with Second Beach. If you remember, Second Beach has kind of got a jetty that comes out on it. We think we can get that in a position where we can get that beach open at some point in time. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow. Obviously, there's some dredging that's got to take place. There's permitting that we have to get from the Army Corps of Engineers. And ultimately, it gets down to money, too. We need money to do that. But we've started that process with mad scientists. They're actually working with the Corps to see what it's going to take to be able to do that. So to your point, yeah, we think it's important, too, that we can get something open here where we can actually get people into the water.
We see lots of families with little kids down there, and they're playing in the sand.
I understand.
And it'd be great if they could go out in the water. And I mean, it just makes sense to me. It's kind of like Hex down there, the big swimming hole. Well, we just make a big swimming hole there and aerate it and make it good. Same way at the parks.
Yeah, we're going to try that one. I mean, that's the one we think works the best for what we need to get done.
It's good. We got red danger signs up. You just asked little kids to go swim, and we got red danger signs.
But we didn't ask anybody to go swimming. What?
How can you guys say you're gonna make it great when you got poison coming in 75-foot wide streams every single day, and you've got red toxin signs up? Come on up to the lake. Come on up to the lake.
And you keep promoting that stuff.
Optimistic person in the room about Grand Lake St. Mary's. I got a $500,000 development going on. I got new campsites, new projects.
Good for you.
I got new docks going. I want Grand Lake to make it. So stop the pollution.
Well, why don't you stop the damn information, the misinformation? Excuse me. Sorry. Well, you said first of all it's LIA's plan. It's not our plan, Buzz. Okay. If you're gonna, it was on your Facebook. You called us out and said our plan's not working. You keep putting this vitriol out there, and you're the guys making money off this lake.
The plan's not working.
Oh, you. I would prefer that you put your plan together, and we're more than willing to listen to it. More than willing to listen to it. And to bring a piece of paper in that talked about in 2009 about what was going on. A lot of those things have been done since that's come out. Let's put a plan together, Buzz. Let's put a plan together, and then come and talk. I'm good with that. We'll get the right people in those meetings to talk. I'll wait on it. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Back there, get the.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment. None of you know me because my name's Jerry Weber, and my parents and my aunts and uncles bought a cottage 50 years ago on Harbor Point. And my parents passed away a few years ago, and I ended up having to buy my section of the house. And at that time was right when the lake crashed, or right before the lake crashed. It got appraised at $200,000, maybe worth $100,000 now. To your point, everybody's got a financial interest here. Everybody wants to see the lake get better. But being an engineer and a scientist, I can tell you, I know when we came here 50 years ago, this lake wasn't in good shape. This lake had tons of algae 50 years ago. Just nobody knew anything about it because the science wasn't around. Right?
Exactly.
Right. This problem has been in development for probably maybe 100 years. You're not going to solve it in 7 years. When people, and I live in Cincinnati, when people in Cincinnati, I tell them I've got a cottage up on Grand Lake, they all go, "Oh, Grand Lake." You know what I have to tell them? And I'm really proud to tell them. I say, listen, there's a big organization up there, there's several organizations who are working on not one, not two, but I'm telling you, there's probably 15 projects going on up at this lake, trying to figure out how to make it better, and slowly but surely they're going to make it better. And I just wanted to thank everybody for all of your help and effort. I really appreciate everything you guys have done.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. 50-50?
We took in $27 today. We're going to give away $13. We're going to keep the extra $1 for the kids fishing derby. So, I'm going to draw the winner.
Sure.
844242 4242 4242.
There's the winner. Right there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for coming today, and we'll see you in August.